Welcome to College Conversations. I'm Sara Harberson, a sophomore at Dickinson College, and for the next 30 minutes, you'll hear an insightful and authentic conversation about Dickinson, the value of a liberal arts education, career development, and some helpful tips for navigating the admissions process. I'm excited to introduce you to our guests. Dickinson College President John Jones is not only our college president, but he's an alum and a Dickinson dad. Joining him is another Dickinson parent who I know quite well, Sara Harberson. Known as America's College Counselor, Sara is the founder of Application Nation and the author of Soundbite, the admissions secret that gets you into college and beyond. President Jones, Mom, take it away.
Thanks, Sophie. Hi, President Jones.
Sara, good evening.
Yeah, this is such an honor to be with you, to be able to talk about a place that we both love, Dickinson College.
I'm honored to be with an expert in the field of admissions and one of our great students, of course, your daughter, Sophie. So it's a joy to be with you.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to start things off by talking about that parent perspective. We're both Dickinson parents. Obviously, Sophie is a current sophomore. Your son is a graduate of Dickinson College. What are some skills that Dickinson students take with them? And what do you say to parents when you're talking to them about the potential of their child coming to Dickinson?
You know, I always tell the story of my son who graduated not that long ago. When he was a young boy, he was coding. He was able to really master the use of computers. He came to Dickinson as somebody who had a little bit of tunnel vision about what he liked. And during his 4 years here, he engaged. He became editor-in-chief of the newspaper. He joined a fraternity, became president of the fraternity. And he has advanced remarkably in his career. And he said to me one time, I said, why are you getting promoted? What's happening that you're getting promoted? He said, because of the skills I learned at Dickinson that taught me how to engage and to do critical thinking and to take things on. He said, there's a lot of folks that work with me who are experts at writing code, but they're not adept at being able to lead and to be bold and to socialize. So, you know, in a nutshell, Dickinson prepares you for what comes after in so many different ways.
That feeling that your child is going to be engaged in their college community, that's what every parent wants.
Well, it's transformational, and we put a high premium on that. The world is moving at lightning speed. We can't predict for the class of 2030 what things are going to be like in 2030, but we can give them the skills, the adaptability, if you will, that are going to allow them to really take on the challenges that new sort of decade is going to bring upon us. I mean, every year it's remarkable. It's breathtaking, you know, how fast we're moving. And I know we'll talk about things like AI and, you know, it's who knows, you know, what the world holds, but we're going to have students who are ready for that.
And it's such an exciting time to be on this campus. I'm thinking about Family Weekend, which just passed. I'm still smiling and thinking about all the wonderful moments of that weekend. And as Dickinson parents, we got to hear directly from you and the provost and a number of other leaders of the college about what things are going on right now, what priorities you're focusing on. Can you share a little bit about what the college is focused on in terms of that student experience?
Sure, you know, and in terms of the homecoming weekend, I ascribe to the theory that the president should be accessible and should be visible and should communicate. I think that's what you bargain for in a school like Dickinson. So, you know, I'm out and about, and the panel that you talked about is something that we did that was new this year, where we talked about, you know, some of the initiatives we're doing at Dickinson, teaching things across the curriculum, leaning into what we refer to as a market-based curriculum that has that great core liberal arts education that promotes literacy and critical thinking, but also the life skills that you're going to need. We teach ethics, for example, across the curriculum. Everybody's going to get a dose of ethics, not because we think that they're not ethical, but because everybody can use that today. We have co-curricular courses in our Burgess Institute, such as AI and finance, blending the two together. so you have skills there. And the marvelous thing is that you can have multiple tracks as you go forward, sample some of this, sample some of that, and really sort of build your own program as you go through Dickinson College. And I think the high touch of our faculty and the student to faculty ratio is something that promotes the kind of learning skills that are unmatched, really, among our peer schools.
Yeah, the professors here are incredible. When I listen to Sophie speak about her experience in classes and how her professors are supporting her academic interests, as a parent, I could not be prouder.
Well, and not only will they support you when you're here and mentor you and help you with your career choices, and again, we can talk about careers in a bit, but they will be your mentors and friends when you leave sort of the limestone walls. It is not unusual to keep those relationships, to have them write recommendations for grad school, to be persons with whom you can consult later on. Those relationships we see time and again last a lifetime.
Yeah, I'm just thinking Sophie's applying for a study abroad program for next year, and one of her professors is on sabbatical, and someone told her they're never going to write a letter for you on sabbatical. She reached out to the professor, and the professor said, "Of course I will write you a letter of recommendation."
And that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And Sarah, there isn't a week that goes by that I don't have a student in my office. I'm pretty sure that doesn't necessarily happen at every other college. And these students come and they may be thinking about the law, because I had a career in the law before I came here as a president. They may just want to talk about life and their experience at Dickinson, make suggestions. I think people were surprised, and I'm delighted to have that. I go and I dine with the students in the CAF. It's wonderful to get their perspective on things. I learn about what's going on. So I get as much from those interactions as I hope that they get as well. But I think that's integral to the kind of community that we have at Dickinson College.
And what do parents tell you when they talk to you about how their current student is doing at Dickinson? What do they say to you about their child's experience here?
We have parents who have experienced a liberal arts education. Typically, they see Dickinson as, I would say, liberal arts plus. They have a certain expectation, and I think time and again we transcend that expectation, and they're delighted. They see joy in just the broad curriculum and the community and so forth. I think for parents who've not experienced a liberal arts education, it's really a revelation, and they see this transformation in their student as they go through Dickinson. Their engagement skills, their critical thinking skills, their ability to really be bold and to see the world open to them, and to understand that there are a myriad different ways that you can use your liberal arts education. And they experience their students thinking about areas that maybe they had never considered before, and they love that. So it's that I can take on the world attitude, and by the way, that's been through the ages at Dickinson. I always felt that way. I'm an alum, but it's something that's in our DNA.
Yeah. And how does Carlisle fit into the student experience? Carlisle is the town where Dickinson College is located. How does that impact students?
Carlisle is a really special place. I would urge people as they think about Dickinson to make sure that they see Carlisle, because you can look at Carlisle on a map and you say, well, it's a town in central Pennsylvania. It's so much more than that. Cumberland County, where we're located in Pennsylvania, is one of the fastest growing counties in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Carlisle has over 35 restaurants that are within walking distance of this campus, and it's every type of food that you can imagine. The merchants in Carlisle love the business that students bring to them. We have a law school here under the Penn State auspices. We have a war college here. There's almost a cosmopolitan feel to the town. And you know, I always say to parents, my highest responsibility is to keep our students safe. To me, that's a sacred bond that I make, and this is a safe town. You know, we've got a great public safety division, but it's also a well-policed town. It's one of the real jewels, I think, in terms of college towns in the United States.
And parents want that confidence. They want confidence that their kid is going to be safe and they're going to get a great education. Parents also want confidence in what their child is going to do after graduation. I'm really impressed that Dickinson has 96%, and correct me if I'm wrong, 96% of Dickinson graduates are employed or in graduate school within 1 year of graduation. That is phenomenal.
And that goes to the return on investment, because you know, people ask, well, you know, it's not cheap, obviously, to get a world-class liberal arts education. What is the return on investment? There's a metric, you know, that we use when we talk about the value of a Dickinson education. And then you can look at other stats. We're way into the 90s for medical school and for law school admissions. You look at the national averages for law school among all colleges and universities in the 70s. You look at the national averages for medical school across all institutions, it's in the 30s. So again, that's something that we are very, very proud of. Take the medical school curriculum, for example. Now, for a school of this size, you would think that we would teach anatomy virtually. We actually have cadavers at Dickinson, so the students can experience a hands-on, a true hands-on experience in anatomy. Those are the things that we do. Field studies. Our Mosaics program, for example, the students go to areas and they take on problems in an immersive way in other cultures, collaborating with the community, finding ways to solve these problems that give them the sort of skills that are portable and that they can use as they go out in the world, because they're going to be faced with problems where they have to meld together with maybe a culture that is not their own, and find ways to remedy those problems. We have high impact practices, internships, things that expose you to the front line of different businesses and industries, where you get immersed in that business and you learn, you know, right there on the front line, you know, what's taking place, mentorships as well. All those things are facets of a Dickinson education. We believe that to understand the world, you've got to get out in the world. Same with our study abroad program. We're in every continent at this point, and all of our programs are ones that we build, and you don't miss a step in your major when you take advantage of our study abroad programs as well. They are, by the way, transformational for every student that has the privilege to engage in them.
As a parent, what is so striking to me is that the idea of career development starts as early as a student's freshman year. That's one thing. And the other piece is, it's not this one office on campus. It is multidimensional at Dickinson. The Center for Career Development, the Burgess Institute. There's so many avenues for students to explore careers, get some experience, and hear from experts on a regular basis.
Sarah, I say that we have two customers, two clients, if you will, at Dickinson. The first one is obvious. That's our prospective students, and really their families as well. But there's another one as well, and that is the prospective employers. And if we're not preparing students for that other client or customer, the prospective employers, then we failed. We have to keep our eye on what the world is demanding. And our center, for example, you know, other schools have centers. I say this all the time. It has to be more than that. And the other thing is, some students will naturally get geared towards looking at their careers. Others are going to need a push, even the best students in the world. So, you know, we're going to have a summit for our sophomores next year that we're going to get them involved in. It's a 2-day process, and we're going to get them oriented and moving in directions that will get them set up for the career choices that they're going to need to make. We don't want them to wait, and we want them to have the opportunity to begin to sort of figure out where they're going to go. Might be graduate school, might be towards a particular industry. We are going to pair them up with folks, and by the way, we have hired a number of additional folks in our career centers so that we can be industry specific in helping them as they go through it. You mentioned the Burgess Institute. Burgess Institute for the Global Economy came online last year, funded by alumni donations. This is a co-curricular operation. It is not a major, and it gives people basically business fluency. Whatever you do, you could be an arts major and run a museum. You're going to need some financial and business fluency to do it. You get exposed to that through the Burgess program. One of the wonderful things about Burgess is that we have alums who come back on campus. We call them executives in residence. They stay here for days. They meet with students for all the time that they're here, small groups of students. They interact with them. They tell them about their life experiences. They push them into new ways of thinking. We have folks like the founder of Oculus, the CEO of LL Bean, both Dickinson graduates, for example. So many successful people. They give their email addresses to the students, and the students email them and interact with them, and they become not just examples of success for the students, but they become mentors as well. And it's that kind of high impact, frontline experience that we think is not just helpful to our students in terms of where they go, but it's inspirational as well. It informs them as to what you can do with a Dickinson education.
And it is unusual for a small liberal arts college to be thinking about those practical skills and also those business skills, which are really important. You know, I became a business owner later in my life, and I wish I had that. I'm thinking about, I would assume, one of the most popular majors, maybe the most popular major at Dickinson, international business. And that, to me, is it's so fascinating because you can get that liberal arts education and that business education. Why would a student choose Dickinson over a pre-professional program at a big university, let's say?
Because you're going to get that intimate relationship with faculty members. I sat in on an international business and management course a couple of years ago. It was a revelation for me, and it was a fairly basic course the day that I was there. But what it was teaching students was how to value publicly traded companies, and it was a snapshot of that. I wish I would have had a course like that when I went to Dickinson College. I didn't. But in the scope of one class, I watched the faculty member interact with the 9 or 10 or so students who were there and really have a give and take. You're not going to get that in an amphitheater with a couple hundred students. But this was really making these students aware and letting them ask questions and participate in a sort of generative discussion about why you might invest in a particular company, why you might buy stock, for example, in a particular company. But international business and management is a fast-growing major. You mentioned, though, the liberal arts. Look, I can give you all the business smarts that you want, but if you can't get out there and you can't lead and you don't have the confidence to get up in front of people and make presentations and talk and do those things, you'll get a job, but you're not going to be at the top of the pack. So the literacy skills, look, I don't care where AI is, you better be able to write, you should be able to express yourself and to communicate. Those skills are transcendent. They're always going to be necessary, AI or not. And that's that core liberal arts education that really benefits students.
Yeah, that value of a liberal arts education. I don't know if you realize what you're getting until you get to a place that offers that. And to be able to speak and write and think across disciplines is really an ideal education for this generation of students, because they are going to change jobs and careers and professions much more than we did in previous generations.
Well, two words: confidence and adaptability. Our students are confident, and they're confident because they know that they have the tools that they're going to need when they go out in the world. Those are core skills of a liberal arts education. I would say, there's a lot of doom scrolling about AI today and what it's going to do in the workforce. I actually think that a liberal arts education, Sarah, is more important today than it's ever been, because of the sort of emotional skills and the ability to harness AI is going to depend on things that are still very human and are at the core of a liberal arts education.
When we talk about small liberal arts colleges, a lot of those institutions can talk about small class size, nice interaction with faculty members, research opportunities, and tight-knit community for a lot of these schools. But what makes Dickinson unique even among small liberal arts colleges?
I think there is an atmosphere at Dickinson that is, my view, is distinctly different than any other college. And it's an amalgam of all the things that we do. Of course, it's a gorgeous campus. I think Carlisle is a welcoming and a beautiful town. Maybe our secret sauce, to some degree, is our faculty. Every day I hear something about the dedication of our faculty members and how they will not just push people out of their comfort zones, but at the same time they have office hours and they welcome students coming into their office hours. If a student feels that they're falling behind or they're just not getting it, they'll sit down with them. They're passionate about what they do. So I think, it's a variety of things at Dickinson. You may be a student athlete at Dickinson. You may be with our mermaid players and perform. You could be with one of our musical groups. Dickinson becomes something that sort of gets into your bloodstream when you're here. And I always say that I can spot a Dickinsonian a mile away. It is a combination of that sort of joy of learning. Dickinson students are typically pretty modest and self-effacing. They have a wonderful sense of humor. That's a trait that you see through the years at Dickinson. But they're ready to go out and take on the world, and that's how they leave here. I tell students, Sarah, the last thing typically I say to them at commencement is, get out there and take on the world. And I'm really confident. It's a very poignant moment for me at commencement because I know that that's exactly what they're going to do.
You mentioned the faculty. I would have to agree. As a parent of a current student, I think the biggest compliment to Dickinson's faculty is just how I listened to Sophie talk about her professors. And I know she could change her mind and she could go in a different direction, but right now, as a student here, she wants to get a PhD and she wants to become a professor. And that says everything about the professors that she's had here.
And I have to say this too, and I mentioned this to a group that I had a privilege to speak to recently. There is this sort of prevailing view, and this is a sign of the times, that what faculties do is they indoctrinate students and they make them, for example, reflexively liberal, and they give them a certain point of view about the way the world works. Our great students, and I'm sure your daughter Sophie among them, would find that funny, because our students can think for themselves, and we're not turning out robots, who are programmed to think a particular way. That's frankly an insult to our faculty, and it's an insult to our students. Our faculty want us to be the marketplace of ideas. Well, they may have their own views, about things. Certainly they do. We all do. But they're proud to see our students push each other and espouse different philosophies, and do it civilly, because we put a high premium on civility. And isn't that something that the world needs at this point? We have dialogues across differences where we teach basically ways to engage without hating the person that you disagree with. That's a vital skill in today's world. Lord knows, the way the world is today.
And as prospective families visit colleges across the country or even abroad, they often will ask me, what should we be paying attention to? What should we be considering? And I always talk about 5 things that are really important. And let me know if you agree or disagree. I would say number 1 is cost. A family needs to consider how much cost of attendance is. But sometimes they look at that price tag and they get scared off. And for a college like Dickinson, it has a robust need-based financial aid program. It also has merit scholarships. And so that cost of attendance number, once you do a little digging, can sometimes be even cheaper than the students staying in state at their public university.
Yeah, and it is a worry that people get scared off by the sticker price. There's no question that a liberal arts education is not inexpensive. But for example, we announced earlier this year the Dickinson Promise. So for the incoming class, the class of 2030, if your income is family income is $75,000 or less, we guarantee that you'll graduate loan-free. And we have a great deal, as you say, of need-based aid. And so try us out. Don't be scared away, necessarily by a number that may look unattainable to you, but actually is attainable. So you're spot on saying focus on cost, but cost is more than just looking, at a number. That's something that will work with you always on. We're very cognizant of that.
I also say look at colleges where you will matter, and not just matter on the first day of freshman year, but you want to feel like you matter from the first moment you walk on campus. And, I think about Sophie's own story of, why she applied to Dickinson, early decision. She came back from that visit and said, that's where I'm going. And she felt it. So I always tell families, you want your child to feel like their presence is so important, even as a prospective applicant. And we felt that when...
And Sarah, it should be. That's why you come to a college like Dickinson. And that's why I encourage people to come here, experience it personally. Come to one of our open houses. Let one of our great guides, our Liberty Caps, take you around and show you. Interact with them. That prospective student to student interaction is really critical. That's a good way to learn about the college. Interact with our faculty. We have faculty panels that we put on where prospective students see that and understand that exuberance and that dedication that I talked about a moment ago. All those things, I think, factor in. There's no question about that.
I also say flexibility. Students are going to change their minds about their majors, and having a liberal arts education like they have here at Dickinson, you can easily change your majors and still graduate within 4 years.
The big mistake that a lot of folks make, well-meaning, is they'll say to somebody like Sophie when she's about to enter Dickinson, what are you going to major in? That's a well-meaning mistake, but it's a mistake nonetheless. We have people who do 180s, and they come thinking that they're going to be this, and then they end up being that, or pursuing something because they take a course and it unlocks them. Yeah. No, there's no question that flexibility is key.
Yeah. Then safety, we talked about how safe campus is, and Carlisle. Everything that my child goes to during the week and on the weekend is all within walking distance, whether on campus or taking advantage of what's in Carlisle. So that's another one. And last, I always tell families, pay attention to construction on campus. If you see construction on campus, it means the institution is doing well financially, and that is more important than ever before. And I think about over the weekend seeing the renovations take place in the hub, which is where the CAF is, and I we had the honor of being a part of the ground blessing for the Center for the Futures of Native Peoples.
And an art gallery.
And an art gallery.
Which is going to be, incidentally, world class, and with a priceless collection in it.
Well, this has been wonderful to talk to you. I really appreciate it. And, I'm seeing it firsthand as a parent, but it's important that prospective families, have the opportunity to see Dickinson the way that we see it.
Well, thanks for all you do, and you're spot on in the way that you look at it, given your vast experience. And thanks for sending us Sophie. That's terrific.
Thank you. Well, Sophie, I think you can have the honors of closing us out.
Thanks, Mom. Whether you're considering Dickinson or you're just exploring the admissions landscape, we hope this conversation gave you some new insight. To learn more about Dickinson College and the admissions process, visit dickinson.edu/admissions. Thanks for spending time with us, and from all of us here at Dickinson, we wish you the best on your college journey.